Hello, good evening, and welcome to Talk Ottawa. I'm James Hendricks, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in. I'd also have a question for you tonight. Are you worried about losing your job? Plenty of Canadians are, thanks to the latest employment numbers. They show the national rate at a 6-year high, with more than 82,000 jobs disappearing in February, nearly 300,000 since October. And here in Ottawa, where government jobs have always given us a cushion, we've lost 13,000 in the space of 2 months. That's more than all the jobs the local economy added all last year. So yes, the recession has officially come to the capital. And even if employment here is only half as bad as other major cities in the province, that's cold comfort if you happen to be one of the statistics. So we're asking you tonight, are you feeling the recession? Have you lost a job, or are you worried about losing one? And what are you doing to keep your head above water while the economy tanks? The number to call is 728-1000. The idea is that old Keynesian idea from the 30s that, you know, if you throw some money at some shovel-ready projects, well, people will have to hire workers to do them, and those workers will put that money back into the economy. Other people say it's a shell game, that you're taking money out of one pocket and putting it into the other, that you're not really generating any wealth here. So, I mean, what's your take on that? Is that the way we should be going?
Well, you're actually borrowing against future job creation is what you're doing. It's a cushion is really what it is, and it's also government moving in where the private sector is just fallen down at this point in time, just keeping things moving.
But aren't the kinds of projects that would really make a dent in any local economy, things like transit expansion, aren't those the kind of things that are not shovel-ready, that are going to require environmental assessments and complex negotiations between various levels of government about funding, and specs for contracts, and arguments over specs for contracts, and lawsuits over old specs for old contracts? By the time you get all this stuff out of the way, well, now it's 2010, 2011, 2013, and the recession hopefully over.
And that's the big dilemma, is how effective can the stimulus package be?
Warren Buffett's getting richer, Bill Gates is getting richer, but the poor have absolutely been desecrated and wiped out. And we're all poor. There's no middle class anymore. So, well, I'm not really saying that.
Well, the middle class has been certainly morphing into something closer to what we used to call the working class in recent years. If you look at real income over the past 17 years and what we used to regard as the middle range, it has shrunk.
Yeah, can I just say this? Real income doesn't exist anymore. Real credit problems exist.
Yeah.
Okay. And someone stated that there are no safe jobs in a recession. Well, trustees are doing a booming business.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jerry, run for mayor. Thanks
a lot, Robert. So how do you get that credit to people, Jerry, if the banks aren't lending? And even the banks, as I said, in the United States, where they have gotten hundreds of millions of dollars in public money, specifically with the purpose in mind that they ease up on credit and start lending to small businesses and consumers again, and they don't. What do you do? Do you just make the banks do that?
You have to make. I mean, I think Canada has a relationship that's much closer with the banks and the financial institutions than the United States. Absolutely. So I think we're doing very well.
We're doing
are we
well.
going to feel it? Of course we're going to feel it.
Again, we are adding jobs still, or as of February,
Absolutely.
we were still adding jobs in public administration and in education. However, as you point out, since we are really close to a one-industry town,
yes,
we're very much like the Oshawa of public
Absolutely.
administration. We manufacture policy, public service, and so on. And if this did drag on and it got hit in that started to take a hit, that area, then suddenly we're as vulnerable as Oshawa. They rely on venture capital. They couldn't get money from banks, traditional banks, in large amounts, even before the recession. They would have to go to venture capital companies that high risk, high reward. You know, the Bank of Commerce is going to say, whoa, no. So what do they do now?
Well, this is what I was reading earlier today. Someone said in a recession
they are not left on their own. They certainly have a shield against that competitive world out there, and one would think that would provide the government a point of ingress into saying, you know what, start lending money again.
Yes, and in fact, you know, while investors are all well and good, and I think they're important to have in the economy, the fact is, for most entrepreneurs and people starting up a business, their source is the banking system. Have learned the hard way that they can't depend on the banking system when things start getting tough, and they've learned to sort of find new ways to invest using their family, things like credit cards and other leasing type arrangements.
Interesting you should mention the family, as a matter of fact, because we want to come back to that point after the break and talk about what this massive write-down in the personal wealth of Canadians will have as an impact on the local economy. We're going to ask you about that too. We want to know if you're worried about your job, or you're worried about the recession, or are you worried about your investments. Give us a call and tell us. The number is 728-1001, and we'll be back with you right after these brief messages. Hear from you on Talk Ottawa, the right choice for your voice.
protectionism built in.
You're back with Talk Ottawa, and we're talking recession tonight. Hope it doesn't bum you out, but it's something we certainly have to deal with, having lost 13,000 jobs in the capital region since the beginning of the year, 7,200 jobs in February. By provincial standards, for example, that's not too bad. That gives us a jobless rate of about 4.8%. That's about half, or just a little more than half, of most of the other major centres in Ontario, Kitchener, Oshawa, Toronto. But by Ottawa standards, it's pretty high. And certainly if you're one of the people who has lost a job, it's as high as it gets. And we want to know if you have any questions, comments, or stories to tell. We're also taking John's call, because John's been waiting since before the break, and we salute you for your patience, sir. Thank you for hanging in. Are you still there?
Hello?
Hello, John.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Great show.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm glad you're part of it.
Okay, I just want to mention a few things.
Sure.
Is the poverty level has gone really severe. Limousine.
Yeah, I think his own car, though. Last time I heard he was driving a Mercedes. But oh, is it a Prius now? I haven't been keeping track of the mayor's cars, John. But
no,
let's face it.
I know he is, because I phoned his office today and found out.
But that amounts to really symbolism, and it may be important symbolism, but it doesn't make much of a difference to the bottom line. What would you do?
Practice what you say.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And quit being a liar. You know what I mean?
I would wonder what you would say to the city, and I mean specifically the city, in terms of what municipal policy you would direct to help us through the recession. What would you want to see the city do?
Well, I'd like to see the city put more money towards building housing for low-income people.
When they've lost their income, to keep them going, to keep their families going, but it keeps communities going too. So when the mill shuts down, the grocery store doesn't have to shut down the next week.
Well, that's something that you may want to mention to your MP next time you're on the blower to the constituency office. And that's about all the time we've got tonight for Talk Ottawa, but we want to thank you for joining the conversation or for listening in. We hope you're keeping your head above water as the economy continues to be turbulent, and we hope you join us again for sunnier subjects on the next edition of the show. So in the meanwhile, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you later.